Are you a descendant of the Irish warrior clan, the Gallowglass? But first, who were they? The Gallowglass of Ireland were a mercenary warrior class, typically of Norse, Gaelic and Scottish origins, and they played a significant role in Irish and Scottish warfare from the late 13th century all the way up to the 16th century. The term Gallowglass comes from the Irish word Gallowglass, which means foreign warrior. These warriors were not native to Ireland, but hailed from the western coast of Scotland, particularly in the Hebrides and the Highlands, and they were renowned for their ferocity and loyalty in battle. For nearly a century after the arrival of the Normans in 1169 AD, Gaelic Ireland faced a relentless retreat. The Normans, armed with superior weaponry, threatened the native Irish, who sought a solution to halt the onslaught. The answer came in the form of the Gallowglass Warriors. These elite mercenaries had a potent blend of Gaelic, Scottish and Norse heritage. They were often hired as mercenaries, forming the backbone of many Irish armies and providing valuable military expertise. They were renowned for their size and strength, and on the battlefield for their ferocity, bravery and fearlessness. Their custom was always to fight to the death, rather than withdraw when facing a superior opponent. We first see these Irish Spartans arrive in Ireland around 1259 AD, when the King of Connacht received a contingent of over 150 warriors as part of a dowry given to him by the King of the Hebrides. As the Normans conquered their way through the island, their advance was stopped in 1270 when the Gallowglass stood their ground and slaughtered Norman forces near Carrick and Shannon. This trickle of warriors would soon become a flood, as the Gallowglass clans sought new opportunities in Ireland due to the Scottish Wars of Independence. The Gallowglass were heavily armed and typically wore chainmail armour, a conical helmet and carried a large two-handed sword known as a claymore or axes or piked axes. They were skilled in the use of weapons and known for their fearsome charge on the battlefield. They organised in battles of about 20 men or more, capable of bringing down mounted knights with their long-handed axes. These intimidating weapons made the Gallowglass feared opponents on the battlefield. Their arsenal also extended to include bows, long spears and lethal throwing darts. In battle they were deployed in the riskiest of spots, such as the rearguard. The Gallowglass stood their ground during ambushes, covering the retreat of their comrades with counter-strikes against pursuers. This fighting strategy made them remarkably effective throughout this period, particularly in the context of Ireland's guerrilla warfare landscape. Unlike hired men of arms fighting sporadically, Gallowglass engaged in offensive warfare, receiving the lion's share of the spoils and hospitality, often lodgings in the house of their lords, an experience not always pleasant for their hosts. When employed as bodyguards for an extended period, more formal agreements were established, enriching Gallowglass families. The office of constable became hereditary, with families granted land in return for fighting men, often accompanied by annual payments in various forms. The Gallowglass lived a life dedicated to martial training and combat. While specifics about Gallowglass training are scarce, it is likely that they underwent apprenticeships in military families. In the 16th century, sources mention that Gallowglass sons learned to be men of war from the age of 16, continually practicing military skills within their clans. One of the most renowned Gallowglass battles was the Battle of Knockdoe in 1504. This battle is often regarded as the largest, most significant conflict fought between Irish forces during the late medieval period. The conflict arose from a political struggle within the Anglo-Irish nobility. On one side was Gerald Fitzgerald, Deputy of Ireland, and on the other his son-in-law, Ulick Burke. Gerald Fitzgerald assembled a force of 6,000 men, which included a significant number of Gallowglass warriors. And on the opposing side, Ulick Burke and his allies gathered around 4,000 men, many of whom were also Gallowglass mercenaries. The conflict was brutal, with hand-to-hand combat and strategic manoeuvres defining the engagement. As the battle unfolded on the slopes of the hill of Knockdoe, the numerical superiority of Fitzgerald's Gallowglass became evident. They gradually enveloped their opponents, and after several hours of intense fighting, Ulick Burke's forces had no choice but to retreat. The ground was soaked in blood and the casualties were significant on both sides. But the battle stands out as a testament to the prowess of the Gallowglass Warriors. It highlighted their effectiveness in large-scale conflicts and showcased their ability to bring down even well-armoured opponents. The Gallowglass played a pivotal role in turning the tide against the Norman conquest, and by the 14th and 15th centuries, a stalemate had developed. With Ireland divided into spheres of influence, the Gallowglass became a sought-after force, even employed by the English authorities in the Pale. Over time, the Gallowglass, just like the Normans before them, became an integral part of Irish society. They intermarried with the local population, they adopted Gaelic customs and cultures, and settled in various parts of the island. They became an influential military and political force, with their leaders sometimes holding positions of power and influence within Irish clans and kingdoms. So back to the title of this video. Are you a descendant of this ancient Irish warrior clan, the Gallowglass? Several surnames in Ireland and Scotland are associated with the Gallowglass, reflecting the Norse Gaelic heritage of these warrior mercenaries. You can see some of the common surnames listed here linked to the Gallowglass clans, but it is important to note that while these surnames may be associated with the Gallowglass, surnames alone do not prove that you are a descendant of the Gallowglass. Family history is complex and individual surnames may have diverse ancestral backgrounds, because there is evidence of these surnames existing before the Gallowglass arrived in Ireland and also later in the 17th century with the Ulster plantation. Around the time of the Ulster plantation in the 17th century, the Gallowglass had all but disappeared as a distinct military force in Ireland. However, their legacy remains in the annals of Irish history as skilled, feared warriors who left their mark on the battlefields of Ireland.